I think that it's already started.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good evening in some parts of the world. My name is Tomo from Earth Company, and I'm here with Aska.
Hi, good morning and good evening.
And we are joined by Robin Lim, who's calling in from the US. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Robin. I know it's your evening, as we can tell from your dark background. So thank you. We'll definitely give you time to explain about your work and tell about your life story. But for the next about 60 minutes, we want to talk about Robin's work and also how Earth Company has supported her work, and also really solicits applications from all over the world for the Impact Hero 2021. But before we do any presentations, we want to start off with a short video that explains what Earth Company does and what we've also done for Robin. So yeah, let's get that started. So if you can turn that on, that would be great.
People dedicating their lives to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges, then we need to support them. That's why we started Earth Company. We select and support exceptional, one-of-a-kind change makers who can make much deeper and wider impact if they have access to resources. We call them Impact Heroes.
Before I was a midwife, I was very happy as a school teacher, but I had this calling to give babies a chance to arrive on the earth without trauma and to give mothers respectful care. Our first clinic was in Bali. It started not as a clinic, it started as just a door-to-door service. And all of our services were always free. And I found that the people here had many, many difficulties getting the care that they needed in their pregnancy and for birth and for postpartum care. I had a lot of heartbreak in my life. My sister died. She died from a complication of pregnancy. The doctor, all he had to do was give her medication. All he had to do was look at her chart and care for 1 minute. So I decided then, okay, being a school teacher is nice, but I want to be a midwife. Because I believe if my sister had a midwife, the midwife would hold her hand and make sure that the doctor listens to her. Earth Company was the one that raised the money for the medical wing with the acupuncture and the doctor and the lab and everything. Without Earth Company, the clinic is not finished yet. They really stayed involved with Bumi Sehat and with me. I believe on the level of our souls, something matching, something special. So they're very, very instrumental in making Bumi Sehat stronger. Also through Earth Company, we were able to have a clinic for childbirth in Sentani, Papua. We keep the baby with mother 100% of the time, skin to skin, 100% breastfeeding at Bumi Sehat. If you immediately clamp and cut the cord, they won't have their full blood supply. If you take them away from mother immediately, then they will suffer from trauma, from separation, from placenta, and from mother. And then with that trauma, it closes your heart. So your capacity to love and trust is deeply affected. And they will grow up very much depending on how they are born.
There's a Native American proverb that says, "We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." We believe there's so much truth in these words. The world is full of issues, and so many people are struggling just to survive. Some people can change that reality. There are people who can change that reality. Everyone should be able to write their own endings to their own stories. We need more people who can make that happen. Ibu Robin, she's not an ordinary midwife. She's not only catching babies, she's saving the world and building peace, one baby, one mother, one family at a time. She goes to some of the most marginalized communities in the world and most disaster-struck towns and support those that most need it. The more I found out about her, I knew we had to support her.
How can I make the world a better place? Why was I born? All the humans in the world are born to love. I mean, how do you get to Earth? Two people have to make love. It's the planet of love. So that's why it's so important to love. We want every single citizen of Earth to have an intact capacity to love and trust. And I do everything I can every day toward that goal. And I believe that we can all do something. And if everybody does something, it's going to work. I have a lot of hope. Maybe I'm crazy. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm crazy, but that's okay. I hope everybody could be crazy for love, because I am crazy for love and I'm crazy for peace.
What a wonderful video. It always makes me so emotional hearing your words, Robin. We've probably watched this like literally about 350 times, but it's always very powerful hearing your words, Robin. Great. So for those of you who just joined, we're just going to explain a little bit about Earth Company, and I'm sure many of you have heard this before. So I'll go this very, very quickly, and then I'll turn the floor to Robin. So Earth Company, we do a number of things to support and empower individuals and institutions that create a world we can pass on to future generations. The Impact Hero is really the main reason why we started Earth Company. And so that was explained in the video. But we also do a few other things, one including an educational program called Impact Academy or Impact Bali. And we saw a glimpse of that in the video, where we took high school students to Bumi Sehat. We also do consulting, and we also run an eco hotel here in Bali, which is where we are based at the moment. So you can see where we are at, and the beautiful, lush green and also earth-backed buildings that we're surrounded by at the moment. Okay. So a little bit more about the Impact Hero program. We select one winner per year, and we support them for 3 years. And that's a pretty unique approach that Earth Company adopts. And we select Impact Heroes who are authentic, who are passionate, who are grounded, who can inspire, who have really strong leadership, whose work is irreplaceable, and whose work is also future-oriented. And in the last 5 years, we've selected and supported these Impact Heroes. So Robin came second in this sequence. In addition to the winners, we've also selected finalists starting in 2018. So in this year, we selected 5. Ram from India, Maheen from Bangladesh, Peter in Bali, Sebastian in Laos, and Rai from Nepal. And in 2019, we selected 4 additional finalists, Ego from Timor-Leste, Garvita from India, Lisa from Samoa, and Sasiranga from Sri Lanka. And we haven't been able to provide as much support to them as we do for the winners, but we are trying to do more and more for them as well, because their work is very important and also inspiring. We'll talk about this more, but we offer a number of services and support to the Impact Heroes. And this is kind of a rough timeline of how the 3 years would unfold. But this is kind of a template from which we adapt our services based on the needs and situation of the impact heroes. In the last 5 years, we've raised about $800,000, and so on average, we've been able to provide about $150,000 to about $300,000 for our impact heroes, and then contributing to the construction of a lot of important buildings that carry out much needed work. So, for example, in Timor-Leste, there was the construction of the Green School, and also the Green Villas that contribute to the Green School. And then in Bali, we'll talk more about this later, but there's the Bali Clinic. We built a new clinic in Papua, also contributing to disasters in this year of very bad natural disasters. And also, this is also at the Bali Clinic. There's a construction of a clinic in the Palawan happening right now. For Kathy, we built a youth center. And then for the most recent impact hero, Weiwei, whom we talked to last week, we are contributing to the operations of the Yangon Youth Leadership Center. So with that, I want to invite Robin to the stage, to the virtual stage, to tell us more about who she is, why she does what she does, and also explain what she does through Bumi Sehat. So Robin, thank you again for joining us. And yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Selamat malam. So I think I'll just have to give people an idea as I talk, go ahead and run the slides on the PowerPoint so can start.
英語に苦手意識があったので、海外にはちょっと不安だったんですけど、今回の研修で英語を話すことがとても楽しいということがあり、海外で働いてみたくなりました。
So if you will just to give people an idea as I talk, go ahead and run the slides.
国境を越えては絆はとても大切なことだと思います。
とても楽しかったです。
英語に苦手意識があって、海外にはちょっと不安だったんですけど、今回の研修で英語を話すことが楽しいということが海外で伝えることができました。
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
We can now.
Okay. So, so you can already put the next slide up. So this is my Lola, my grandmother from the Philippines, and they say that she put an anting into me, and that is something that in the Philippines we know that you can put like a small piece of seashell or something in someone's soul, and that will cause them to always be irritated so that they live for humanity. And she was my idol. She's been my inspiration. She was also a midwife and a healer. So I wanted to show her to everyone here. And thank you for coming and sharing my Lola with me. Okay, so next slide. And I would say that my passion was really born with my baby. My first baby was born 44 years ago. Her name is Deja. And she really came into my life, and it caused me to commit to human rights for mothers and babies and families. Okay, and I'm actually staying at her house right now. And then my sister died from a complication of pregnancy. She was in the USA. She was under the care of a doctor, a specialist, but he did not care enough. And I really feel that the fact that her husband was Korean, her children were mixed race children, she's half Asian, and she was also quite overweight. And she had signs of hypertension and unwell in pregnancy. And she told the doctor, but he said he didn't have time. And she died that night. So I became an agent of change in a way to honor my sister, but also instead of getting angry, I decided to live for love. So it really, this is her quilt square. She's on the quilt for safe motherhoods in the United States. I don't know if people are aware that in the United States of America, since 1986, the maternal mortality rate has shamefully risen out of control, and it's especially women of color. So it's something that we really have to look at, and why in the most
the country where they spend the most money on childbirth, that model of care is not working. And so I had to ask, what model of care works, especially for the women that are most marginalized in the world? Okay, next slide. So, and I like for people to see this slide. It upsets people because you see there on one side a medieval torture table and the other side obstetric table. Now, some people would say the obstetric table doesn't quite look like that anymore, that it's covered with pink or a nice color, but it's basically that, the stirrups. And I don't know why anybody would want to have a baby in this contraption. And I know after tens of thousands of births at Bumi Sehat and in people's homes and in small villages and in disaster zones and tents, that you don't need this kind of archaic technology, that doesn't say love to the mother. It doesn't give the mother a feeling of security. So that is one of the things that in my lifetime, I'd like to see the elimination of these obstetric tables. Okay, next slide. I love this. This is Huichil Earth Mother. And I like her because she, to me, is a symbol of decolonizing childbirth. Childbirth is ancient. Ever since they were mammals, we've been reproducing through this beautiful dance of sexual health. And it's bringing a baby to the earth is not only a physical act, it's a deeply spiritual act, and it's a shared family and community event. And so we want to bring the sacred back into childbirth and the safety. And we find that the model of care that we have at Bumi Sehat really does that for mothers and for their families and for their babies. Okay, next slide. So I love this slide because in the very big front, you see the high-tech ultrasound machine, but instead of using that, I just put my ear to the mother's belly. And this is the day before she went into labor and had her little girl, Elly. And it was such a special moment for the mother because she said, when you touch your ear to my belly, I feel like you believe in me. Next. And you see this baby's umbilical cord, it's just full of blood and stem cells and life. And the delaying of the umbilical cord severance is a human right for each baby. It's not practiced in most medical institutions, in most hospital settings. You don't see that. It's so important for the baby. And it's such an easy thing. It's like the opposite of an intervention. It doesn't cost anything. No other mammal interferes with the birth process the way humans do. No other mammal clamps and cuts the umbilical cord immediately the way humans have. And I don't know how this practice that is so inhumane has evolved in medicine. But one of the things that we've made great progress in being an example of at Bumi Sehat is to help prevent the immediate clamping and cutting of the baby's umbilical cords all over the world. In fact, the World Health Organization now says that it's a protocol that we should not do. So we feel like there's a lot of good coming for babies as they arrive on Earth. Okay, next. Bumi Sehat is like my family. I love this picture because Ibu Dewi is there. She was a midwife for over 30 years with a beautiful vision for gentle birth. She's there with groups teaching midwives and with pregnant mothers and midwives at Bumi Sehat. And a couple of years ago, she passed away very suddenly. But she's always with us. So I just wanted to include her in this talk. Next. And I talk about birth in the era of climate crisis. I used to say climate change, but we are in a climate crisis. And with this global pandemic, we're in this giant storm and we're all in our little boats, but it's one storm. And we are all together globally facing this. And as the Earth's crust has gotten increasingly too warm, we are seeing bigger earthquakes, we're seeing more frequent storms, we're seeing more eruptions. You know, there were just horrible crises, the fires in California, all over the world. We're seeing more and more of the climate crisis. And how does that affect us as human beings? And how does that affect childbirth? And Bumi Sehat's very involved with Earth Company in looking for solutions for our times. both environmental and humanistic solutions. Okay, next. So this is Philippines after the big storm. This is what we saw everywhere we went. 9 islands were destroyed by a storm that was fueled by the climate changes, by the climate crisis, by the ocean and the Earth's crust being too warm. And how do we support families to live in joy and yet be prepared in these times? Okay, next. We've been responders to the terrorist, Bumi Sehat, the terrorist bombings in Indonesia in 2002, in Bali, Aceh after the 9.3 earthquake in 2004, Padang, Indonesia, Yogyakarta earthquakes, Jacmel, Haiti earthquake, the Philippines superstorm in 2013, the earthquake in Nepal in 2015, Lombok and Sulawesi in 2018. And now our patient services and human services are a lot, but now we're really, really focused not only on our normal health and education, but also on mitigating the suffering from COVID-19 in Indonesia. Okay, next. This was Elly. She had twins born in the aftermath of the tsunami. 2 of her children died in the water, and then she gave birth to twins. So we just bring her into, because there was no hospital for the twins to be born in. There was only this shack that she was living in with 4 families. Okay, next. This is the team in Haiti and the tents. There's a tent where we were receiving the babies into the world. Okay, next. This is a tent in the Philippines, about 2.5 by 2.5 meters. And in the first year there, we had 777 gentle, beautiful births in the tent. And midwife Lorena is just waiting for the mother to reach out and get her baby. And next slide. That's a tent in Nepal. This mother lost her parents, her husband's parents, and her husband was working in a cruise ship and unable to come home after the earthquake. So she had to, and her 2-year-old child also died in the earthquake. So she was really traumatized when she came in. And her joy in greeting this little baby, when she started labor, she said she didn't want her baby, but when she saw him and she had the chance to reach out with her own hand and touch him, she fell in love. Okay, next. This is Dewi. She had surprise twins. She's 16 years old. She had a baby when she was 14 years old who died of pneumonia. And what she would tell us is over and over again is my babies were born homeless. She was really fortunate that she made it to our tent to give birth because she hemorrhaged afterwards. The second coming baby, the little girl, did not breathe. We had to help resuscitate her. And before she goes home, we provide her with solar light, water filter, baby clothes, everything that we could possibly give to each family in need so that they could go home. Even if they didn't have a home, maybe we could help them by giving them a tarp, things that they need to survive. Okay, next. This is typical of how our patients in Lombok after the earthquake were living. This mother could not make it to the clinic, which is also intense, but she had her baby here and our midwives were able to, the Bumi Sehat midwives were able to reach her and to help her to have her 3rd baby. Okay, next. Last year I was able to go to the Rohingya refugee camp in Bangladesh, and I could really then see what my friend YY was talking about with her people. Each of these mothers has a story. Each of them walked barefoot from their own country, from Myanmar to Bangladesh. And there's 1 million people living under tarps. And this is the Hope Hospital, the Hope Field Hospital there. So heartbreaking and so difficult. And we were invited to go there and bring our gentle childbirth protocols to the Hope Field Hospital. So next slide. I'd like to include fathers involving men as agents of peace in the childbirth process and in the raising of children. And this is our beautiful friend, Takaha, who's a Maori elder, and then a Balinese dad who just had his 3rd baby and his mother. And anyway, beautiful families. Next. These are 4 fathers from 4 different islands, from 4 different faiths, and their babies were born. All of them had baby girls the same night. And they became very, very close friends until this day. So I love this because it shows me that here is an example of how, in the context of celebrating the birth of a baby in a family, it's also an opportunity to make peace between Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and Hindus. Okay, next. Sacred childhood ceremonies. This is something that we have in Bali. We're always honoring the families, no matter what their faith, what their religion. When the babies are being born, as they begin to crown, we begin to sing the song of the family's faith, whatever that song is. And it really helps the families. And they always say, wow, the song that the midwife sang when my baby was being born, if my baby starts to cry, we sing that song and it calms our baby. So everyone should be born with a song. I feel like that's a foundation for peace. Okay, next. This is part of what I call the circle of support. This mother had her first baby at Bumi Sehat. She's surrounded by her friends who are midwives, by her mother's who's a midwife, by a doula, someone who mothers the mother, who was there to support her and continuously care for her. And it was a very long and challenging, difficult birth. And here she is a couple of hours later, just glowing and smiling and enjoying being a mother. Okay, next. So we talk about the pandemic, and I call it Women of the Revolution with an emphasis on evolution. The revolution that we are in now is really a chance for us to evolve. And I feel like the sacred feminine ways are really helping to heal us and to keep us human during this very difficult time on earth. Okay, next slide. This is midwife Farida Iryani Salman. Farida was with us in February for the entire month, staying in my house in Bali. She was the chief midwife at the Angel Hiromi Bumi Sehat childbirth clinic in Papua that was built by Earth Company, that is in a place of such need. I mean, the women in Papua really needed this beautiful birth center, and Earth Company made it happen from the generosity of our beautiful Maruyama-san and his wife Hiromi, who is named after. And Farida just recently was taken, she died from COVID-19. 2 of our other midwives have contacted the illness and been positive and got well. For Farida, she died quickly, so we are grieving her and we're inspired by her. Next. In Italy, when the ravages of COVID-19 were so bad and we kept hearing the news and people were crying and saying, I'm going crazy, I'm locked in my house. I say to the mothers, send me a photo of yourself with your babies and your children. And in each of them, the children were so happy. And the mothers realized, wow, for a child to be at home in social isolation or in quarantine with their family is really not a big sacrifice. The children were very happy. I know my grandchildren love this, having their parents home all the time. It's incredible how, if we look at it sometimes from the child's perspective, it has a big effect on us. It can be very healing. Okay, next. These are just some snapshots of mothers and babies in this time of COVID that have been born recently at Bumi Sehat in Bali. Okay, next. This is, there's a community of over 20 young people who have all spent their lives growing up with special challenges. In this case, Budi and Dayu have lived most of their lives with wheelchairs, and they recently had their baby boy Putu. And with all their challenges, she's breastfeeding well, everything's going quite well, but we need to be able to support these families. And Earth Company was the first to come and donate money for food because they cannot sell their handicrafts. There's over 80% unemployment in Bali. And without our help, I don't know what they will do. They will be hungry. There is a lot of hunger right now, even in this beautiful tourist island. Imagine there are no jobs. Okay, next. So 3 times a week, we have an opportunity to feed our elders, elders that are in, some of them in far-flung places and some of them in our village. Some of them are blind, but all of them need these sort of weekly health checks. So our nurses come, and Ibu Eka, who's one of our pengurus yayasan, she's one of our executive directors. She makes sure that she coordinates all of this to make sure that a cooked meal comes 3 times a week, because when the families have no food in the kitchen, the elders will not eat before the great-grandchildren. And this is a big problem because they start to really go hungry. They will sacrifice themselves for their family. So we need to take care of them too. Next. Okay, so this is distributing food to over 200 families weekly.
Robin, sorry, maybe
okay.
a couple of minutes, yeah? Okay, thank you.
Okay, next. How are we getting there? There's Eka distributing food. Okay, next. Pregnant mothers and new mothers with new babies, providing to make sure that they have fresh vegetables and rice and sweet potatoes, and when they go home, and eggs, so they have protein. Next. And just it's the little tiny gestures that really, the empathy that keeps us all human in this very difficult time on earth. And next. This is our dear friend Toro, and Kazumi lost her husband to COVID-19. He is very much part of the Bumi Sehat family and family with Earth Company. And I just wanted to bring his smile and Kazumi's smile, because she has new challenges to live without her beautiful husband. I just wanted to honor them tonight. Okay, next. And the Dalai Lama talks about how we have an opportunity, that this global pandemic gives us an opportunity to be compassionate and to help as many people as we can. Okay, next. We're right now working very hard, actually in my kitchen, to encapsulate this beautiful herb, which has been helping to not only prevent the coronavirus, but we've been treating people who have been positive for COVID-19. We've been treating them with this heritage herb from Indonesia, Philippines. You can get it in India. You can find it in southern China. And we're so blessed to have this herb, and we've been working very hard to distribute it for free all over to anyone who wants it. Okay, next. I love this moment because not only do we have a pandemic, but right now in the United States, they're fighting very, very big struggle to stop racism. And this pregnant mother really just says everything. She put her life on the line and went out and protested because when one person calls for their mother, all mothers can hear that voice. Okay, next. And this is something that just happened in my family. I came here to the United States. My daughter Zoe has had her second baby. It was a very, very difficult, it was like her climbing her Everest, because she had a vaginal birth after her first baby was born by emergency cesarean. Because of the COVID-19, she really did not want to go to the hospital. There's so much COVID-19 in the hospital, in this area, in the hospitals. And so actually my granddaughter, Joanna, had her umbilical cord 5 times around her neck. And so it was very much a miracle that she was able to be born safely without any problem, with the support and love of our family. Okay, next. I think we're almost done. Circle of support. Just love this photo. Okay, next. And now more than ever on Earth, as our volcanoes are erupting, as our earthquakes are getting bigger and more frequent, as the storms are happening, the fires. There was a huge wind and tornado storm that happened in the United States recently, floods, all of these things happening as our Earth is changing so quickly. We just need to remember that our babies are listening. When we're pregnant, our babies are listening. And as we care for those babies, we need to care for each other and the whole world. Okay, next. And that's my last slide, to honor Earth Company and thank Earth Company for helping Bumi Sehat and me in 1,000 million ways I can't even begin to tell you. There are so many ways. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you.
We wish we could, listen to your stories for much longer period of time. And you have an amazing ability to tell these stories, and we feel, our hearts go out to so many of those babies and families that you've shown through this life, and, in the Philippines, in Nepal, in Papua. And your work is simply inspirational and amazing, and it's for us, it's really an honor to be part of this journey and this really important work that you and your team do. So thank you for letting us be part of that.
Thank you. We could not have done nearly what we have been blessed to do without Earth Company. It's been an amazing journey with you, and I feel so emotional about each of the Impact Heroes. I just remember, when you showed me the video of YY when she was first told that she was chosen. I cried so hard. I still cry when I think of it. Getting to know Bella and her journey. And my vote is for Bella to be the next president of Timor-Leste.
Sure.
She's the obvious choice. And Kathy, what's happening in her country, really difficult.
No, I think, one of the amazing things that's happened in the last 5 years is really, getting all of you in Japan last October, and for us to be able to just, to be able to do these kind of, speaking in public, but also more importantly, just to be able to talk on bonds as people, as individuals, who are facing all this pressure, all these expectations, and to be of, moral support to each other. I think that was really a touching experience for us as Earth Company, so that was a really memorable experience. And I think a lot of the people that are watching today on Facebook were actually part of those events in Japan as well. So it's nice to be able to kind of reconnect and reminisce those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good, to get you guys together, because I think you guys carry so much sense of responsibility and commitment and dedication, and you guys don't sleep at night. You guys are always worried about the people that you save, and the operational costs and all of those things. But it's hard to you guys don't have the outlets to talk about your issues, or you can't always talk about your weaknesses in front of the people that you're actually saving, right? And so it's a tough journey for sure, and so I think it's really good for you guys to share that with each other. I think a lot of the Impact Heroes were saying that as well, right? So I think you guys really resonated with each other, and I think it was really important that you found each other.
It's a lot less lonely. Our other Impact Heroes, that somehow it's amazing.
And one thing that's Earth Company has been doing and wants to do more of it is really to create a safe space for these change makers that carry so much on their shoulders, right? And it's not easy to show their vulnerabilities, as Asuka said, in front of the people that they serve, or especially with the team, with their colleagues, and then they're the fierce leaders that need to be confident about fundraising, about marketing, and the fact that the organization is going to survive and thrive, even in these COVID times. And so, but deep down, you guys are the ones that are carrying the most weight. And so, and we all need that safe space, that support system to be able to, really survive ourselves, right? Yeah, I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit about, change makers needing that kind of support.
Yes. Well, it is really lonely at times. And when you have, just there's more than 100 people that depend for their livelihood on Bumi Sehat. And I have to raise the money for them to have their modest salaries. And it's sometimes, if I think about it, it's really scary. And sometimes I get so busy. I remember not really understanding what it meant to be an impact hero. It was like, oh yeah, these guys want to help. Let's see what happens. And we just were the most beautiful couple, and it was right after Zen was born, and we just loved you as a Bumi Sehat family, and one of our birth families. And Ekka's, she's one of my best friends on earth, and she just, she and I talk about how we didn't understand how much you would do for us, and how you would care for us in every detail. Just
we didn't really know how much we could do for you either, so
yeah, we really did this together.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I still remember, like when I first, I got to know you when I was looking for a midwife to help me give birth to my second child, because we were moving to Bali from Japan when I was 8 months pregnant, and so we didn't know where to go, and we looked it up and we found you, and you were so the one that they wanted to have birth with. And so, we gave birth to our a second child, and, we got to know you better. And as we got to know each other, we were so sure, we were like 300% sure that you were going to be the next impact hero, right? And so we came to you and we offered you this award, and, you were like, oh, okay, that's great. And I don't think you believed, how we were dedicated, or how we really wanted to help you, until we brought in like $100,000, and then you were like, whoa, these guys are serious.
Yeah, and also just
yeah, go ahead.
How it is to love the people who touch us, and we just loved you guys. We didn't know that you would be so important to Bumi Sehat. And then when I met Bella, when you brought Bella to Bali that time, the incredible human being she is, and what a beautiful family, and what a challenge it must be for her and for her people. Oh my gosh, it's just, and then Kathy being from Micronesia, and Kathy will be the next that people share with. Be sure to see Kathy when she comes live. She carries so much. And it's interesting, since I met Kathy, my daughter did our DNA, and my mother's father, she didn't know her real father, and he's from Micronesia. He's from where Kathy, those tiny little islands. So somehow we're related, because there's so few people. There's like 60,000 people. And my maternal grandfather came from there. So that is really interesting. It's really, and it's such a, the ecological situation there is, an entire country is going to be submerged, no matter what we do now. And how do we mitigate that? I don't know. I don't know.
For sure.
And it's getting worse because in COVID, in some ways the pollution is less because people aren't driving as much, things like that. But the amount of plastic, for example, that we are using just to do the births and to see patients at Bumi Sehat, the plastic face shields, the masks, the hazmat suits, the head coverings, the feet coverings, the gloves, it's so much more than it was before, and it's wasteful, but we have to protect our staff, and we have to protect our patients. And
just to shift gears a little bit, I mean, for us, like, supporting you was a bit of an exception in terms of the impact hero support, just because you had been working, had Bumi Sehat for almost 2 decades, right? And then a lot of the other impact heroes are actually earlier in their journeys as change makers. And just wondering if you can share a little bit about, as a change maker, who, and to those people who might be applying to the Impact Hero program, who are just kind of starting off their journeys. And what are some, advice or words of wisdom do you have for those who are just starting or who have, who are just, in their like second or third years? Yeah, how do you keep going?
Well, one thing is if you have a passion, if you have an anting, a little irritation under your soul that your grandmother put there, your great grandmother, or your whatever your passion is, don't ever stop listening to that. Go back to I always go back to the little girl, the little kid I was, and the dreams and the huge imagination that I had, that I thought I could do something to help the world. I really did as a small kid. I used to look at all the little weeds growing in the cracks of the sidewalk and try to find the herbs, and I'd press the flowers and I'd try to research what were they good for? What was the medicine, the indigenous medicine when I was a kid in the Philippines and when I was a kid in the US, because I lived in two worlds. And listen to that and remember the dreams of your childhood and honor those dreams. Don't ever betray that person you were when you were in your most informative years. That little person that you used to be is still in there, and you owe it to that person. And think about yourself as you grow older. Like now I'm a grandmother, and honor that elder that you will be, and the only way you're going to get there with your passion, if you're here to help humanity, to help our planet, to survive these crazy times. And my heart breaks for this generation now. For my children, I feel like I thought that when I could vote, I would be able to change the world. It would be simple. I've tried, and I see many people of my generation trying, but not enough people. So the only way we're going to do this is we're going to do this together. But we've got to honor, our next generations coming up, and we've got to honor our elders as we grow older. What kind of world do we want to live in? How do we want the earth to be? We need to protect that. And don't be afraid, okay? It's scary as hell, but don't be afraid. You got to follow your dream. You got to follow your passion, and miracles will happen. The most crazy miracles will happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. My auntie came when I was like 13 or 14 when I was teaching piano to this kid in the neighborhood, and I had some little bit of income, and I was donating that money to the UNICEF, and I was receiving monthly newsletters, and there was no email at the time, so I was actually receiving the letters every month, and I was reading it, and my auntie was there when I saw that, like, how is it that I got so lucky to have been born in a country that is so economically stable, wealthy, and I had food, I had education, and my family wasn't rich, but like I got to live without worrying about what to eat today, and all these people in that newsletter happened to be born in a country that was full of conflicts and wars and hunger and poverty and all of that. Like, what did I do to deserve this environment? What did they do to deserve that environment? And that kind of injustice and unfairness, that really got to me. And that was my auntie. So that stayed with me over the years, and that's how I got into this world. And I still have that inside of me, like I still feel like, just because I got to be so lucky, I need to share that with the rest of the world. I need to do what I can to to contribute to the world, and I see that there are a lot of kids that feel this, but then there's also a world that sort of kind of destroys that dream or destroys that ambition, because you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to get good grades, you're supposed to go to good college, and you're supposed to get a good job, you're supposed to build a nice house, you're supposed to have 2 kids, that kind of a norm and that kind of expectations, I just hope that, and as adults of of this generation, I really feel the need to change that about this world, so that the future generations can really do what they want to do with this world, so that they can really express what they want to make happen in the future. But my question is that I wasn't going to talk about myself so much. I was going to ask you a question, but yeah, so my question is, so the title of this presentation, of this webinar, is A Midwife's Life Work to Save the World, right? One baby at a time, right? And so, you welcomed about 10,000 babies already in the past, like 20, 25 years or so, right? And you've provided services to like 600,000 people or 507,000 people or something like that in the past 5 years alone, right? And I think it's more, like, if you count other ones from back then. So you're literally saving the world, but then you're also, your work is way beyond that. Your work is much more deeper than that, and you're saving the world. You're building world peace, one baby, one mother, one family at a time. And I think it took me literally years to fully understand that, like, how is birth related to world peace? And when you explain it, I think I can understand it intellectually, but then it really took me years to fully understand it. And of course, we're not gonna accomplish that within the next 5 minutes or so, but can you briefly talk about how gentle birth is connected to building peace in the world? And if you can get like scientific evidence to back that up, that would be great as well.
That's one of the things I do.
No, I'm just kidding. Maybe
research on birth. In 2 minutes or less, how do you save the world? Oh, you guys are tough. Oh, so I'm just thinking of the next impact hero, what they're in for. Oh. So think about, peace is not built by machines. Peace is built by people, one person at a time. Each and every individual, everyone watching this, everyone who we see in the next few days, and we look in their eyes, even we can't hug them in this time of coronavirus, every single human being is a piece of peace. And I don't know how that translates into other languages, but an important piece of peace. And newborn babies are absolutely, they don't have a concept of time. So if you take them away from their mother and father, they don't think, oh, I'll see my parents later. They're shattered. They have no concept of all of these loud sounds and the bright lights and the cruelty of protocols that have been propagated. This is like they're considered normal now.
Yeah,
that is not normal, and that is not how any other mammal that reproduces children the way humans do. No other mammal does this to their young, and no other mammal makes their babies go stay in a plastic isolate. They call the baby beds that they put them in the hospital an isolate. How can you trust a world when you come into it and it harms you? So we have to stop harming babies. Nobody, if you walk up to them in the world and say, would you like to harm babies? Of course not, but it happens routinely. And we have to think about the human rights of the most vulnerable, brand new citizens of our world. And each of them, and you see how your children are. They're so bright. They're so amazing. And all the parents of Bumi Sehat, or who's the families we've touched, say the same thing over and over. They say, boy, these kids have so much self-esteem and they're so naughty. The schoolmaster in our village, because 99% of the children at that school were born into the hands of Bumi Sehat midwives in a gentle, peaceful, human rights way. And they say, these kids are so naughty. They just feel so good about themselves. And they love it. The teachers love it because they're also much more intelligent.
Right.
And intelligence is more than just what's in your brain. It's that connection between your heart and mind. And that's how we build peace. I really believe it.
Wonderful. Oh, amazing. Thank you. Maybe we'll wrap it up soon. I mean, we want to and we can talk to you for hours, but we did say we will end this in an hour. So maybe we'll just do simple. We have a question.
Okay.
I'd like to ask what any of us can do at a distance in other countries with currently closed borders. Yeah. So how can we help when the borders are closed and when there's a lockdown? And even though everyone's willing to help, what can we do?
Well, first of all, family first. We always say that at Bumi Sehat, family first. And from that, anything you can do. I'm always touched. I had a healthcare worker she was a nurse and she survived coronavirus in New York City, where so many people died. And she started giving $20 a month to Bumi Sehat. And every month when I go through all the online donations, and a lot of people do subscription donations, I do it about once a week. I wait until I feel really sad about something, and then I open my computer and I write thank you notes to everyone who's donated that week. And this is my gratitude time. And for me, I just cry when I recognize these people's names and I go, oh, this is the person that emailed me and she survived coronavirus. I just can't imagine the generosity. And it gives me hope. And I feel like this world is worth saving. We know that because of the babies, and we know that because of the people that, go online and they help Earth Company, and they go online and they help Bumi Sehat, or they help any of the other impact heroes. This to me is evidence that the world is worth saving, and we have hope. It doesn't look good right now, but don't give up hope.
Yeah.
To believe in the world. And when you're crying, that's good. It's good to cry because maybe you're not dried up inside, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll just finish off with an announcement about the next the Impact Hero call for applications. Yeah, so I'll turn it over to Asuka. Who do you want to start? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk briefly about what we've done with Ibu Robin, and just sort of as an introduction to this Impact Heroes program. So we selected her as our Impact Hero in 2016, and we give customized support for 3 years. So we're working with her from 2016 to 2018, and as she didn't really want to graduate from us, so we continued to work together here and there. And of course, there were lots of emergency cases, like the volcano eruption in Bali, and there were lots of natural disasters like earthquakes and tsunami in Lombok, in Sulawesi, and in the Philippines, and all those places. So in those emergency cases, we kind of continued to work together. But in the 3 years, we mostly focused on fundraising and scaling her work. And so we were able to build clinics in Papua. The entire funding came from Japan. And we're also building another clinic in Palawan, Philippines, and this was co-funded by Earth Company as well as other people that are so amazing as well. And so we provide all kinds of support, like marketing support and nonprofit management support, like management coaching, personal leadership coaching, and stuff like that. But then with Robin, because she had been running this clinic for 20 years and she already had a pretty well-established team, we focused on fundraising. And so in the 3 years together, we raised about $335,000 in total. And during which time we were able to build the Bali clinic, the Papua clinic, which I just mentioned, and the Palawan clinic is still ongoing. And we provided disaster relief to a few different places. We also created a lot of materials for her so that we can fundraise. So these are the materials that we created, and we also connected her to potential collaborators and donors, funders, and we also wrote about her in articles, and she was also featured in a lot of the newspapers in Japan as well. And we actually brought her to Japan because there were a lot of people who really wanted to see her. She has a pretty large fan base in Japan now. So we were able to mobilize about 704 people. We held about 8 events. The satisfaction rate was really, really high. And we were able to raise annual donations of 27,000 US dollars. So that donation is coming in. So we provide 3 years of support, but we don't want to like leave them high and dry. You know, we want them to be able to sustain their activities. So we try to provide support that can have a long-term impact to their work. And this was another thing that we did. We developed a volunteer team for Robin, so that she can continue to have connections to the donors in Japan, and she can send newsletters in Japanese language, and as well as have study tours coming from Japan to learn more about natural birth and gentle birth from Robin. And so this study tour has become sort of a new for-profit program that's just running, and this is not just one-time thing, and we do this once or twice a year. And so that can give her a little bit of source of income because her entire clinic is running on donations. So it's good to have source of income for sure. And so this was what we were able to do together. And so we are looking for more people just like Robin. And we had a webinar with Bella and Wewe already, but we're having a webinar with Kathy from Marshall Islands. She's a climate change activist. She's also a poet. She's great with words, and she inspired the world on how we can save the world from climate change altogether. So this call for applications is for the new Impact Heroes, for the Impact Hero 2021, and the due date is September 2nd. And so if you are a change maker that are eligible for this, and that is a good fit for this program, then please do apply. The submission deadline is the 2nd of September. The shortlist candidates will be contacted by Earth Company by the 2nd of October, and there will be interviews. And early in November, we'll be notifying all candidates of the final decisions. It's really exciting. And also this one is another webinar that's coming up. Do you want to briefly introduce Mason?
Yeah. We have special events next Tuesday, August 25th. I believe that's next Tuesday. With Mason Tan. He is quite a pioneer in this area of impact investments and social entrepreneurship. As you can tell from this picture, he's a very wise man, has experienced a lot. Yeah, he really emphasizes, kind of personalities and leadership qualities in change makers. He's not, of course, business models and all that's important, but he really looks at the people behind the initiatives. And so we want to have a fireside chat next Tuesday with him, talking about these qualities that are needed for social change, and how might we foster them, how might we develop them in the next generation of change makers. So yeah, if anyone's interested, please join us. Free event, obviously. So yes.
Yeah, so we talked to him about the stories of Impact Heroes, and he basically fell in love with all of them. And so we connected him and Robin as well, and he introduced her to some potential collaborators who might be able to help her and stuff. So yeah, he's a huge fan of the Impact Heroes as well. Okay, so the last one of the Heroes Talk series is Kathy, as I mentioned earlier, and this is going to be 29th of August. So hope all of you join that one as well. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you.
We love you. Thank you so much, Robin. We wish we had more time to talk. Yeah, but yeah, safe travels back to Indonesia. Hope to see you back here in Bali. And thanks again for your time.
I love
Thank
you.
you for everyone for watching.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Lagi. Bye.